I agree that moral relativism is not the key to morality, but I disagree that moral relativism is the only alternative to a leap of faith in a certain set of principles. I think that the most significant message that comes with a spreading of religion is not believe in this religion or believe in this faith, but so much believe in something. Believe. I think that a person, the best thing that a person can learn from any religion is the idea of religion in general, not the idea of any religion specifically. Because basically, the religions, various world religions, have different approaches, different explanations, different models for these same types of what we call absolute morals. Yet they have totally different takes, totally different methods of faith, and totally different explanations. The model itself is not what's important, it's the message that the model brings.
Do you really need a God to know that hurting a child is wrong? Today, a college student challenges Cliffe Knechtle head-on, not with anger, but with reason. This isn't just another debate. This is where the myth that morality needs God gets torn apart. Stay with me.
Well, yeah, but sir, I was not responding to someone who believed in religion. I was responding to a gentleman who's very articulate, who stated that we're just monkeys. So therefore, I'm taking you seriously, and you're the one who said we're just monkeys. And I'm trying to point out that if that's true, if we are just monkeys, then life is meaningless, morality is relative, and death is the end.
No, that's the point I disagree on, because I think that it's possible that a God of what we might call a God, but really in no way fits our conception of what we would think of as a God, could create, let's say there were a world without humans, just lots and lots of monkeys. Sure, we wouldn't be here to have the capacity to know that such a world exists, but we can conceive of the idea that a world would exist with a God and lots of monkeys with no humans.
Yeah.
So essentially, if we're all just monkeys, that's not mutually exclusive with moral absolutism. Us being monkeys does not
you're right.
generate moral relativism.
Good. I assume that when you said we're just monkeys, what you meant by that is there is no God. Evolution as an origin is correct. We have just simply evolved by chance and by fate. So did I misunderstand you?
Well, it's not in a way, but not in an unacceptable way at all, because I think that misunderstanding is representative of a much greater understanding that's championed by, Christianity in general, which is that not so much current Christianity, but the idea of evolution as being the cause of this. Why, when evolution was discovered, the Catholic Church went up in arms, and they were really, really upset at the idea of evolution. But to me, a more rational, more functional institution would have said, great, evolution, God created that too.
Tell me, do you believe there's a God who's greater or not?
I personally do believe that there is a creator. However, I don't believe that he mirrors any of the major religions' conceptions of that creator.
Fair enough. So you're not atheist, you're not even agnostic. You're a theist. Yeah. You believe that some type of God or gods exist. Now, what is this God like? How do you gain information about what this God is like?
Well, I personally have my own hunches and intuitions, but my more significant sense says it doesn't matter. I think that moral relativism is not mutually exclusive with faith. There is moral absolutism that is inherent within the physical world. You said it yourself when you discussed your central nervous system and the pleasure that it seeks.
Yes.
Really, a moral absolutist approach is, I'm going to act in such a way that as best as possible maximizes the sensations on as many central nervous systems as possible. I do not need a God as part of my conception of religion to acknowledge that when if I'm going to beat a child, that I am drawing pain upon their central nervous system. I realize, I don't need a God, I don't need a threat of looming punishment to recognize that if my goal is to maximize earthly existence, to, I guess, what you call maximizing pleasure in my central nervous system, I don't need, what I'm saying, humans don't need God in order to make that leap. The leap is not from earth to heaven, the leap is from earth to earth.
The only way that a human being can have dignity innately is if they've been created for a purpose. Because if they've not been created for a purpose, If our number simply came up in a Monte Carlo game by accident, then to argue that we have innate dignity is a joke.
I disagree, because let's say, you win the lottery. Lots of people who win the lottery are going to say, okay, I'm going to buy myself a car, I'm going to buy myself a house in Tahiti. Whereas some people might, and they're going to become frivolous with the money and basically disengage themselves with the value because it is immediately accessible to them. That they say, because I didn't work for this money, I can spend it frivolously and not think twice about it. But the fact is, there is a value associated with that money. That money can can bring about a certain amount of good. You can actually sustain yourself and your family for however much time. That basically, even if our number did come up in a Monte Carlo game, and this is how it is, that is not mutually exclusive with us living morally.
All right, what do you have to say to me? Stealing your money will help me a lot, because I need some money to go on my next vacation. Therefore, I'm going to steal your money because it's going to maximize my pleasure. What do you have to say to me?
Well, if I were the type of person who had enough money that I would not notice the difference, that the difference would not really damage my central nervous system, then in principle, no, there's really not so much of a problem with that. I think that, it's okay if the rich get stolen from here and there. Now, I don't want to say steal as a general principle, because then people are going to go around stealing from people who really do need to feed themselves.
So here's what just happened. Cliffe tried the usual play. If we're just evolved animals, life is meaningless, morality is relative, and death is the end. But the student pushed back hard, not by rejecting morality, but by showing that our capacity for empathy, harm, and well-being is enough. You don't need divine punishment hanging over your head to know that causing pain is wrong. You don't need ancient texts to understand fairness, justice, or dignity. What really stood out is when the student said, the leap isn't from earth to heaven, it's from earth to earth. That's powerful, because real morality doesn't need to wait for the afterlife. It's about what we do right here, with each other, now. The truth is, if your moral compass only works because you're afraid of hell or hoping for heaven, that's not morality. That's just obedience. Thanks for watching. If this made you think, hit that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and drop a comment. I'd love to hear your take.